Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Supreme Court dismisses appeal by Heineken Lokwobiri, challenging David Lyon as the candidate of the All Progressives Congress in the November 16th governorship election in Bayelsa State. President Buhari meets with the executive committee members of Nigerians in Ethiopia, restates his administration's determination to combat and defeat banditry and terrorism in the country. President of the Nigeria Labour Congress calls on the federal government to take decisive action to tackle insecurity as Catholic bishops in Kaduna demand sack of service chiefs at the burial of slain seminarian. And World Health Organization officially renames new coronavirus as COVID-19 as death toll from the disease rises to over 1,000. Plus, we'll have business, sports news from Abuja, the FCT, and later on we'll have news from our studios in London. Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others, so subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via your smart TV platforms on Apple, Android, Fire and Roku TV as well. An explosion at the GRA Benin City residence of a factional scribe of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Lawrence Oka, seems to have deepened tensions in the party in Edo State. The blast from a suspected improvised explosive device damaged a portion of the building, but a resident who spoke on condition of anonymity says there were no fatalities. Mr. Oka was not available for comment at the time of filing the story, while the State Police Command has also not given any official statement about the incident. This attack is the second in as many weeks, following a similar suspected bomb attack on the premises of another APC chieftain, Mr. Francis Inegbenike, last week. The Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria says a bushfire incident has been reported at the Sam Mbakwe International Cargo Airport in Owerri. Officials of the Air Rescue and Firefighting Services have reportedly been on the scene trying to tackle the blaze. According to a statement from FAN's General Manager Corporate Affairs, the incident has not affected flight operations as they continued unhindered. The authority also appeals to host communities around the airports to desist from burning bushes around that area, as the action is capable of jeopardizing safety of flight operations owing to the prevailing weather conditions at this time of the year. Now, barely 1 week after the Senate set up a 56-member committee to review the 1999 Constitution, policy experts are suggesting strategies they believe will produce a better result. One of them is Professor of Law Akin Oyebode, who would rather have a new law produced by a constituent assembly instead of reviewing the Constitution for a possible 5th time. He also wants the reports from previous national conferences to serve as a guide to develop a system of true federalism. He is speaking on our breakfast program, Sunrise Daily.
True federalism should be on the front burner. If we really recognize that the constituent units of the Nigerian Federation deserve to order their lives the way they want, then of course we have to restructure, what you call restructuring. People don't like that word, but it's a very important word because we either restructure or we die. So I think we have to restructure Nigeria. Give each component part of Nigeria a sense of belonging. Don't make people feel alienated or marginalized or excluded from the running of this country. So we have to decentralize. We have to devolve powers. We have to reconfigure, as I said, reconstitute and restructure Nigeria as we know it. The Senate, distinguished senators, should just pass the law on how to convene a constituent assembly, which will be charged with the task of producing the new constitution, at least the draft constitution, which will be enacted by way of a referendum. That is all that I think the Senate should do, instead of reinventing the wheel or going over what we already know. I think we should be creative.
Let's cross over to Abuja now. Here's Ibrahim Adra. Ibrahim.
Hello, Ijama. Good to see you as always. 1 week after protesting to the United States Embassy and the British High Commission in Abuja, the leadership of the People's Democratic Party has again taken its protest to the European Union Commission. Led by the Deputy National Chairman North, members of Nigeria's main opposition party gathered in front of the EU Commission in Abuja, calling on the international community to help address the problem of insecurity and electoral fraud. Mr. Suleiman Nazif says the PDP decided to approach the EU because of what it calls the federal government's overbearing influence of the National Assembly and the judiciary.
We have come here to lay our complaints firsthand, to tell them the situation of things in Nigeria, the way democracy is working. We are not happy, we are not satisfied with the way democracy is being run in Nigeria. We have come here to complain because we have realized that the National Assembly is being intimidated by the executive. The judiciary is being arm-twisted, rule of law has become mockery, and not only has it become mockery, we thought it wise to come and lay our complaints because they no longer listen to anybody. And that is why the People's Democratic Party decided to reach out to international community to lay complaints with respect to Electoral Act that has not been assented to up till now. This is 5 years from the inception of this administration. And we are aware of the systematic collapse in our electoral processes, the way elections have been conducted in Kogi. We saw what transpired in the last elections. We are not happy with what has transpired. Nigerians have seen for themselves what the opposition party is going through.
Meanwhile, a former governor of Zamfara State, Mr. Abdulaziz Yari, seems to be borrowing a leaf from the PDP. He is asking the Supreme Court to review its judgment which invalidated the candidacy of the All Progressives Congress contestants in the 2019 general elections. Mr. Yari, who was speaking at the APC headquarters in Abuja, claims he is following the example of the People's Democratic Party by visiting the Embassy of the United States of America to protest the alleged injustice his party suffered in Zamfara. He insists that the APC's fate in Zamfara State is worse than what the PDP is claiming to have suffered as a result of the Apex Court's judgment that sacked Mr. Mbakwe as Imo State Governor.
I was there as a person, former governor and the former chairman of Nigerian Governors Forum, to welcome the new ambassador to Nigeria, and at the same time to discuss on issues of current issues, politically what's happening, rising from the judgment of Imo State government, where the PDP lost. And we have heard that the chairman of PDP took his protest to U.S. Embassy. So at the same time, we decided to be there too as APC with some of the national leadership, and that's the Deputy National Chairman and the Zonal Secretary, and myself and other dignitaries, to tell the U.S. government that, look, the same pain that Imo is facing now is the same pain we got, but our own is more painful than any other one, whereby not only governor, the Apex Court decided to award our gain to the PDP, which we have never heard of that kind of judgment in Nigeria. Despite the fact that section of the law, we don't know how, we are also there to inform them we're also there seeking for Apex Court to review itself on this position because it's purely injustice to us.
Following fire incidents recently recorded in some markets in Ogun State, the Department of Petroleum Resources DPR Abeokuta Field Office has embarked on sensitization campaigns on the safe usage of liquefied petroleum gas (LPG). Addressing market leaders in the Jebode area of the state, the Operation Controller Muinat Beluzagi reiterated the DPR's resolve to sanction operators of illegal liquefied petroleum gas facilities. Meanwhile, the DPR has warned gas plant operators and retailers in Adamawa State without proper documentation to get registered or be shut down.
With the rate and manner in which markets and homes get raised in fire, some caused by electrical faults, others by sheer negligence, an increase in the Department for Petroleum Resources safety campaign may likely be received with open arms. Markets are some of the DPR's favorite places to take its safety message on the handling of petroleum products, which aid, if not cause fire outbreaks. Officials of the DPR go into major markets in Ogun State, southwest Nigeria, to educate leaders on the dangers.
We even use local dialects, not just one. We use the common Yoruba, we use Ijebu to also talk to them, to educate them. That when they are cooking, you don't sell LPG in a shop that's next to a restaurant. We also told them that the cylinders are not meant to be left in the sun.
There are those who make a living through the sale of petroleum products, such as liquefied natural gas. The DPR warns such operators not to violate its regulations.
Those that are flouting the guidelines with regards to LPG, the first thing we do is that once we discover, we shut down that facility.
I'm sure a lot of them will have some good takeaways. One or two. When they go back home, they will practice it and it's going to work in their favor.
The DPR's team is also at work in the northern region, in Yola, the Adamawa state capital. It inspects gas stations with emphasis on safety and a warning to unregistered retailers to stop their operations.
The gas cylinders themselves, there are ways you handle them. They have manufacturing date, they have expiry date. Most of the instances that happen as a result of expired gas cylinders and handling of such cylinders.
It's an engagement the DPR has taken from one community to another across the country with the aim of preventing fire disasters caused by gas explosions and other fuel-related incidents.
And still to come on the news at 10, Nigeria's January inflation rate expected to hit 12% in latest survey by financial derivatives company. And that will be on Business News. Join us again.